And these 70 and 75-year-old women are looking mighty good to me.
In 1981, he preached a sermon to his fellow pastors about how young girls' bodies were like the holy temple.
Arlene, you're very touchable for a young man, and I'm too old to even see you. But I could see why 100 young men want to touch her, couldn't you?
I would say it's very, what do you want to say, cultish is the word that comes to my mind immediately. It's very cultish.
Alright, wanted to show you something very, very interesting. So, if you haven't heard of a guy called Jack Hyles, he's dead now and probably in hell, but he ran a big, massive Baptist church called First Baptist Church in Hammond, Indiana. And he is revealed by many people as a great man of God and as a great preacher. And he's lifted up to a status of just like a very powerful preacher. But here's the thing though, is he was running a cult. And I have this is a clip from a news report. The first one is of his church members, former First Baptist Hammond, Indiana church members, saying, just describing their experiences with in Jack Hyles' First Baptist Church, and saying that it had a very cult-like atmosphere and it was very cultish in nature, and just it was like you just had this worship of Jack Hyles. Now people would say, well, why are you speaking against a dead person? He's dead now, and like I said, he's probably in hell too. But a whole different subject. But here's the thing though, is that he may be dead, but his influence is still there. His movement still lives. If you make a video against Jack Hyles, you'll have his followers just spam your comment section. Again, just proving the cult-like mentality of, if you speak against Jack Hyles, regardless of the evidence you present against his cult, you have his followers who get on there and oh, how dare you speak against a good man of God? Oh, stop trying to slander a great man. People that do that, there's two things. So only two things that could possibly be the case. Either they haven't watched the video and seen because I've seen lots of videos exposing Jack Hyles. So that's what inspired me to do my own video, because we have to get the word out there that this guy does not represent Christianity. He was a cult leader. But if you do anything, make a video against his church, his followers will just leave you nasty comments. Regardless, and here's the thing, I was saying, either they haven't watched the video and are just blindly supporting Jack Hyles, which would prove it's a cult because they're just rejecting any evidence against him, or they watch the video and they just simply don't want to believe something. They just don't want to believe, oh, this is all slanderous lies. Either way, it proves that he's running a cult, because they are either just refusing to accept anyone that speaks against their leader, essentially Jack Hyles, or they just see the bad things, but we're still going to follow him. It's wicked. But here is a clip from a news report. I think it's called, I forget what it's called. It was on Eyewitness News, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but basically it's actually, like, I think it's a 6-part series. I forget what it's called, but it interviews some church members who are saying that, yeah, it had a very cult-like atmosphere to it. Watch this. This is it's scary, and you're going to see in the next clip something even more scary. Watch this.
I would say it's very, what do you want to say, cultish is a word that comes to my mind immediately. It's very cultish.
There are some cult-like tendencies at the church.
Perhaps these former church members recollect Jack Hyles' 1990 poison sermon.
I have some poison I plan to pour in here. Notice the bones and the skull there. Now then, if I walked up tonight and I said to you, I've got something I want you to drink. In fact, Brother Colston, I'd like you don't mind to drink this? How you like that? He said, if you want me to, I'll drink it. That's what you call real loyalty.
It has the ring of Jonestown to it. That was the mass suicide in Guyana in 1978 by followers of cult leader Jim Jones. Royal Glover is an attorney and former Hyles church member. He's written a book on Hyles called Fundamental Seduction.
What they have done basically is what every cult does. They exchange the truth for whatever comes out of the mouth of the leader. And that is a cult. That is not Christianity.
So there you have it. I mean, just showing this unquestioning obedience, just like the cult-like atmosphere where they would literally drink poison if Jack Hyles told them to. Now, if that's not cultic, I don't know what is. That's wicked. That's weird too. Very weird. And again, you know, where in Scripture are we told to just, you know, the pastor, the bishop, as the Bible calls him, you know, the word pastor is not ever used in the Bible to refer to an overseer or like the preacher, essentially. Where in Scripture is the pastor or the overseer of the flock? Where is he? Where in Scripture do you have like this obedience to him? I mean, obviously you're not supposed to like slander him or anything, but you know, the pastor, or I mean, I keep saying pastor, the overseer, the bishop is the proper term, and his deacons are supposed to serve the flock, oversee the flock, and protect the flock. And they're supposed to be protector of the flock, just, you know, serve them, kind of like how Jesus served the apostles. They're not supposed to have this thing where the church members just submit to the pastor no matter what he does. You know, it's weird. But check out this next clip, and this like I was saying, this is scary. The reason why I say it's scary is because this next clip is about how Jack Hyles, this is from the same. I think this is from the same news series. I think it's called Predators in the Pulpit or something like that. But he actually is he had loyal followers that were just so loyal to Jack Hyles that they would literally kill people if Jack Hyles told them to. And they actually were, and you'll see in this news clip, they're actually stacking up on weapons and stuff, and stacking up on guns and stuff. And I'm all for having firearms. I'm not saying that Christians shouldn't have firearms, but they were like church members would actually show up to church with like a gun, like a loaded gun. And I'm not against bringing your guns to church. I'm just saying that they'll show up for a loaded gun just because so they can protect Jack Hyles, protect him. And they were saying that, you know, I would kill people for Jack Hyles. You know, I would kill for Jack Hyles. That's scary. I'm just gonna say it right now. That it is scary when the worship of Jack Hyles gets to that point to where they'll actually murder people for Jack Hyles. They do it for him. Scary, very, very scary. It kind of reminds me of the you know, if you haven't heard of the Nation of Islam. The Nation of Islam is kind of like this half Christian, half Islamic, you know, weird cult out there that worships this guy called Louis Farrakhan. And back in the they believe in the Quran and the Bible. The Nation of Islam was started in the 1930s. It's basically a black supremacist cult. Essentially, they believe they believe in this guy called Elijah Muhammad was this prophet, and they believe that Allah, you know, came as a form of a man, and they have all kinds of weird stuff. They believe in UFOs and everything like that. But anyway, they're actually known for this doctrine that they claim that Allah told Elijah Muhammad that the white man is the devil or something like that. But anyway, in the 1990s, there was a guy called Khalid Muhammad who left the Nation of Islam because he said that they weren't like extreme enough or something like that. And of course Khalid Muhammad joined another black supremacist cult called the New Black Panther Party, just as wicked as the Nation of Islam, you know, just equally as cultish. But anyway, I'm getting off topic, but he joined the Black Panther Party, and some Nation of Islam members actually tried to assassinate Khalid Muhammad. And Khalid Muhammad said in an interview that the reason why the Nation of Islam members went after him after he left was because the Nation of Islam, because their leader is Louis Farrakhan, and the Nation of Islam leaders, they actually believe that all of Farrakhan's enemies essentially should be killed before he dies. Before Farrakhan dies. And if you don't know the thing about Malcolm X, when he left the Nation of Islam, he began to speak against it, and that was back when Elijah Muhammad was still alive. And Malcolm X was actually assassinated by I think it was like two members of the Nation of Islam assassinated Malcolm X because he was speaking against Elijah Muhammad. So shows just the cult-like similarity right there, how both the Jack Hyles cult and the Nation of Islam, they both will actually kill people who are like speaking against their leader, or like, or, you know, like enemies of their group essentially. Scary when it gets to that level, but watch this.
Hyles tells traitors to crawl out of the church and into the city sewer.
I've heard this so much. Brother Hyles, we're going to go back home. Well, go on back home. Don't clutter this place up with a bunch of yellow-bellied quitters.
You can call it brainwashing, you can call it various forms of spiritual mind control, but it's very, very effective. To reject the pastor is, in essence, rejecting God, and they come to believe that.
Jack Hyles has surrounded himself with a well-armed security force. Uniformed men with karate-type nightsticks and .357 Magnums patrol the house of God on the lookout for enemies.
There has been a growing tendency in that church to become an armed camp.
Bill Waddell, the chief of police of Griffith, Indiana, and a former member of Hyles' congregation, says he's seen men come to the church armed because they were inspired to protect Brother Hyles. Harry Kilgore is a former Hyles security guard who says he knows for a fact some radical Hyles followers have been buying guns.
Yeah, there's fellows there that are stocking up. I mean, I've talked to some who say, yeah, we're stocking up on weapons.
Why are they stocking up on weapons?
Well, they think that the devil is taking over, and that their only hope is to fight and protect that they love and live for.
The place is an armed camp in many ways.
Vic Nishik is a former deacon at Hyles Church. There are people in this church who would kill for Jack Hyles.
That is correct. And I can testify to the fact that when I was under his mind control, I would have killed too if he told me to.
So there you have it. Just it's scary. I mean, when they get to that level, just like in the Nation of Islam, where they'll actually kill people who are like speaking against their leader. It's scary. And you have Vic Nishik, I think is what his name is. He is he was a former deacon, and according to the Bible, the deacon is kind of like someone who helps the pastor. The deacon also is preaching, and in order to be a deacon, you have to have all the same qualifications, like most of the same qualifications for a bishop and overseer. Like, for example, you know, I'm getting off topic, but anyway, you know, to be a deacon, you have to have, you know, children and a wife. You know, you get the picture. I'm getting off topic, but deacon, so you don't get any closer to Jack, or you get quite, you know, the deacon obviously knows a lot about Jack Hyles because he worked for him, and he was saying that, you know, he would have killed for Jack Hyles. He would have killed people for Jack Hyles. And they have like security guards, and people would come armed with guns just to protect Jack Hyles. Interesting. It's kind of like how the Nation of Islam, and by the way, the Nation of Islam is considered a cult by many people, even many Muslims. Actually, I'd say pretty much all mainstream Muslims say that the Nation of Islam is all it is. It's just a black supremacist cult, essentially. So the Nation of Islam is recognized as a cult, and they do the exact same thing. Louis Farrakhan and all the other Nation of Islam ministers, they have private security that guard each person with like armed too. So it's just the cult-like mentality. The amount of similarities between the Nation of Islam and Jack Hyles' cult, it's insane. But anyway, so, and more stuff to come out on Jack Hyles too, by the way, of him covering up sex perversion and all that. It's just a wicked person. And like I said, I believe he's probably in hell right now because, I mean, Christians can still stumble and fall into sin, but what you're going to see in these upcoming videos about Jack Hyles, I mean, only a super wicked person would cover up for people who are abusing children and you know, just, you know, just a wicked person. But anyway, and by the way, for any of his followers who want to leave comments on my video, just know that these are former church members. You know, they experienced Jack Hyles firsthand. So if you want to reject the evidence, it just shows you have a cult-like following towards Jack Hyles. You just don't want to accept any evidence against the man of God. It's wicked. So anyway, God bless you. Goodbye.